officially call this public hearing to order. Thank you all for taking time to come out this afternoon as we present the last of our presentation for our facilities master plan. I want to start by again expressing our appreciation for everyone who has been to our hearings, everyone who has left comments, feedbacks, whether it's through email, whether it's through phone calls, or whether through your comments at these hearings. We do not take it lightly that you take time to come out and express your opinion and your feelings regarding the decisions that are going to be made. Once again, no decision has been made yet. These are all proposals. The next hearing will be February 23rd, at which time the board will discuss and vote for a final approval of any proposal that stands. Tonight, we're going to have Dr. Cobb to present to you the presentation that she presented the last time at Barton Chapel. And the previous time before at Josie. The purpose of this afternoon's meeting is twofold. We want to hear the vision and the plan that is presented by our superintendent, and we also want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your comments about what is proposed and planned. We will do this as the same way we did at Barton Chapel. The presentation will proceed, and then at the end, we will give everyone 3 minutes to make their comments. We're going to ask that you come to my left, your right, that microphone that's right there at the end, and please state your name, your address, where you live at, and then your 3 minutes will commence at that time. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cobb. Ms. Kane has a question. I'm sorry.
For question and answer, people who have not had an opportunity to speak have an opportunity to speak instead of the same people running up. I think it's only fair that people who have not had an opportunity to speak get an opportunity again to speak first.
Well, everybody will have an opportunity to speak. When we host at the sites like we had at Barton Chapel, we allow Barton Chapel, Jenkins White, the privilege of coming up first since they were the host school. But everyone will have an opportunity to speak. We are here until we're finished. The only thing that we ask is that you honor the 3-minute time limit. The timer will be up on the screen for you to be able to watch your own time. We ask that when you do make your comments that you are respectful and courteous, that you please do not curse, threaten, or lambaste anyone. We will actually have you removed for that. We are here to be professional, respectful, and share ideas. But at this time, if there's no other comments from the board, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cobb as she begins her presentation.
All right, good afternoon. Thanks for coming out today. Board members, I'm going to kind of speak this way today, so I'll have my back to you at times. So if you need to tell me something, just call out to me, and I'll make sure I turn around. I want to thank you guys for coming out. We do see some new faces here today, and we're also really encouraged to see faces of those of you who've been out to our various meetings. My name is Melinda Cobb. I'm the superintendent of schools, and today I'm going to be walking through what we call the comprehensive overview. So some of this we'll talk a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing, then we'll look into what the plan is going to be, and then we'll wrap up. So I do want to start by talking a little bit about what a public hearing is and what it isn't. This is an opportunity for us to come before you as a school administration to be able to say, this is the recommendation we are making to our Board of Education. This isn't the best time. This isn't the opportunity for us to do a lot of Q&A, but there will be a time for you to be able to come up and make public comment. And so we receive all of those comments so that we can make sure we are listening. We have members of our senior team. If you guys just want to let them know, you're kind of up here up front. We have members from our departments, and you'll see the blue papers around on the walls. And we will all be here available to answer questions for you. As you came in today, you received one of these flyers, and there is a QR code over here in the corner. That QR code takes you to our webpage where you can post any questions that you have. I tell everybody the same thing. Look to see what's already there. It's our frequently asked questions. someone may have already asked the exact same question that you already have, especially by the time we get to public hearing number 3. I want to kind of reiterate a little bit what's been said. We don't want to shout, yell, scream over the speaker or our colleagues and neighbors when they come to the microphone. We'll just model for our young people what it looks like when adults come together to have good conversation. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about their comment cards. If you did not get one, you can raise your hand. Somebody can bring one to you. We ask that you fill those out. Give us a little bit of information about what you're going to be talking about. When you come to the microphone, you'll state your city and your zip code. You don't need to give us your street address. We just want to know where you're from whenever you are speaking. There is only one opportunity per person, so make your time count, and it is a 3-minute limit. We do ask that you are respectful, and then we ask that you use the microphone. And those microphones are here over on the side. That's really important for our court reporter to help make sure that we can hear everything very well. Again, remember that questions are answered through our website and by staying afterwards if you would like to. We do ask you to keep your comments related to this plan. If you want to talk to us about something else, we'd be happy to stay here with you as long as we need to today. And then also we'll be having a moderator. And the moderator's role is to help make sure that we are enforcing these rules. We'll go over this one more time before we enter the public comment period, but I want to take a few minutes to cover that now. This is the web page that QR code takes you to. The address is rcboe.org/masterplan. I put a little red box so you can easily see. There's a blue quick link. It's called Frequently Asked Questions. And when you go into there, it's all of the questions that our neighbors have submitted over this comment period. There's also the button that says Share Your Feedback. And that's where you would post your question if you have an additional one. I just like to be able to have that up because you may want to actually ask your question or look it up while we're presenting. All right, let's talk about how we got here. So you guys may remember we started working with an organization, HPM, in the 23-24 school year. We've had a number of meetings with the community. We've had focus groups. We did a survey. And this presentation is actually available in that same website for anybody that might want some of these resources. We had quite a few meetings with the group. This is a timeline that just shows you sort of where we are to now. And you'll notice not a lot happened in 2025. We did have a change in leadership in our school system. I'm happy to be here, but we did want to pause and make sure that we had permanent leadership to go into such an important task. So the only thing we have on there right now is that we know that the new Langford Tut would open. The hurricane did put us behind a little bit. We hoped we would be able to open right in August, but it looks like it's going to be closer to Christmas when they get to move into the new facility on Walton Way. All right, you've seen this graphic before because here's the gist of what happens. The school systems, we earn our money using a per pupil formula. So the state pays us per student on how they want to help run our schools or help fund our schools. And the rest of it comes from our local dollars. So if you take the number of students and you get the money and you have to spread it across 52 schools, that is spreading those resources thin, which is what makes that little skinny piece of pie. I used this example the other day and I'll say it again. Sometimes people will ask me, why don't we have art, music, music, PE, and STEAM in all of our elementary schools? Columbia County has it, and I remind them, here's the truth. We have the same number of students. We get the same dollars from the state, but they're spreading it over 31 schools. I'm spreading it over 52. And so what that does is it does stretch your resources where we aren't always able to provide all those great things that we want our students to have without our local dollar picking up that entire cost. So on this one, I want to show you this image. This is something you've seen before, and I want to be really clear, it's symbolic. This is symbolic in how we fund our schools. So if you look at the top one, it's like when you have less than 450 students at an elementary school, the main thing that the state is funding is the principal and then a part-time nurse. The rest of that is coming out of your local dollars. When you have a middle school with less than 600, you've got a principal, one AP, one nurse, and then some specials, we get to choose which ones, and a media specialist. And at a high school, when you have less than 1,000, you see the same thing. I do want to make sure we clarify because I want to respect one of the points that was made. You do have to have 2 JROT instructors to have a program, This graphic represents the fact that we're not able to offer a lot of CTAE offerings when your school size is very small. Well, what happens when you get a little bit closer? I want you to see elementary because I'm going to come back to that in just a second. When you have at least 450, you're at least getting a principal, a part-time AP, a school counselor, and then you have to pick between your connections. You still don't get to offer a lot. And that's one of the reasons that here in Richmond County, we've been trying to build our elementary schools closer to 800 capacity so that we can help make sure that you're earning a full AP, that you can have all those different connection classes. Middle schools, we want to have at least 700, and then at the high school, to really fund all the different programming, you want an enrollment of about 1,500. We don't have schools that big here. That's just not what we've done in Richmond County, but I want you to see what it would take for us to get toward a fully funded staff size. So this is a new slide. I wanted to be able to show it to you. This is our 10-year trend in enrollment. So you can see from 2015 to last fall, each bar represents the number of students. You can see we were hit pretty hard with COVID. Some students stayed home, changed course, did something different. Then it kind of began to pick back up a little bit before it began to decrease again. So that's about a 10% decrease in 10 years. Really closer to 11, but we'll say 10 just to kind of make it a little bit easier. But you can see that our enrollment here in Richmond County has been decreasing. So we have 20, our official count happens every October. So last October we had 28,046 students. What does that mean? The next thing I want you to see is I want you to be able to look at what we have to offer here in Richmond County. So the first column is what we call the capacity of our schools. I'm going to refer to it as seats. How many seats do we have for our students? So if you looked at an elementary school in Richmond County right now today with none of this planned, we have 18,275 seats. I have 13,820 elementary school students. That means our elementary schools are being utilized at about a 75.6% capacity. You're like, okay, well, what's the goal? The national standard is that you want to be somewhere between that 85%, 90% at the highest. So here in Richmond County, we aim at 85. Even though 90% would really help us utilize all of our buildings even more, we have additional needs. Many of our schools have a clothing closet. They have food storage. They have a parent facility room, a parent room. So we also use our building for additional things other than just classrooms in every single one. Where we are with elementary, we are proposing a couple more closures and consolidations, as that's really where we've gotten to here in Richmond County because we built a lot of very small elementary schools. So over the course of the next 10, 20, 15, 25 years, what we're going to be needing to do is try to consolidate some of our smaller schools into one. That's going to take time. It's what we call going from a 2 to 1, and it's one of the things that we proposed in this plan as we bring Barton Chapel and Glen Hills Elementary, two smaller schools together to consolidate. What makes it hard at the elementary level, I want to tell you, is that you have 7 grades. Pre-K, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it might look like a lot of empty seats, but they have to be the empty seats at the right grade levels. So that's where we are at elementary. Look at middle. We have 7,650 seats, 6,000 students, right at 79.4%. So we have, I'm going to call them empty seats, 1,500 empty seats. With our proposed consolidation, we will actually be right where we need to be with our middle schools. Our middle schools will be perfectly in line with our current enrollment. At the high school, 13,225 seats, 8,147 high school students at a 61.6% utilization. So if you think about your home, if it's just you, your spouse, one child, you may not need a 7-bedroom home. You're paying for a lot of additional costs. That's the kind of what we're talking about here. We're carrying a lot of additional costs with our high schools. So in our plan, we're looking at how do we begin to consolidate all of our programs? How do we try a new concept for our high school? But I want to be clear that even down the road, we are going to have conversations later, not in the next couple of years, about how we want to consider consolidating or maximizing our high schools, because you can see that number there. So today, we have 11,000 empty seats. And so as you hold me responsible for being responsible for your taxpayer dollars, I have to tell you, I'm having a hard time stretching the money we have across those 52 schools while also maintaining and protecting that. So I wanted you to see this. This is a slide Mr. Richter has shared with you in the past, and it is a snapshot, another 10-year snapshot from 2014 to 2024. And what you can see in this chart is that the number of births here in Richmond County has actually been decreasing. And it's not uncommon, it's the whole country. The birth rate has been decreasing. The next one you'll see is the population of people who live here in Richmond County. And then it'll tell you what that birth rate is. So the next one shows you our enrollment, which you just saw, and then you've got enrollment to population. And what you will see is that we have decreased 2.4% in that 10-year period. So when we talk about birth rates, that's what we're talking about. We're actually talking about how many people are born here in Richmond County. This next one, this chart used to really confuse me a little bit because you have to follow the color and follow the chart. But Mr. Richter has put it up here in front of us before, and I want to make sure that we revisit everything. But you'll see that enrollment has declined by the 2,997 students, right at 9.6% in this time period that's shown here. But what you can do is you take a look, if you, at the top left, those are pre-K students in 2016-17. Then you can follow those same students down one row, over one, and those same kids as kindergarten, down and over. You have to almost think about your multiplication table chart, and you can begin to see the trends. Because what does happen is sometimes you have what we call a big year. This is a class where there were 4 homerooms in 3rd grade, and next year we go back to 3. So sometimes you'll have that big birth year. But you'll see that those are the rates. We take a look, we study all of this information before we make any decisions about how we want to move forward. This next one talks about the projected enrollment. So they use that information to project what our enrollment will look like in the future. And they are looking at the number of births in 26, 27. Like how many are happening now? Or 25, 26, right? So they are projecting how many students would be born based on our trends. So why this is important. There isn't any data that we have that is projecting that we're going to suddenly start having more children born here in Richmond County. So now what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the proposal itself. We talked a little bit about the why we're doing that, what information we use. Barton Chapel. What we are proposing for the Barton Chapel area is that our students who live in the Belfair Elementary School, at the Belfair Lakes neighborhood, they would be permanently reassigned to Bel Air Middle School, and Westside High School. That's 14 students in grades pre-K through 12. And that's going to help with transportation. It actually puts them a little closer to their school. Everybody else in the Barton Chapel zone will go over to Glen Hills Elementary for elementary school beginning next school year. So Glen Hills Elementary School is only at 52% capacity right now. So they have room for lots of the Barton Chapel students to move in, plus we're going to need 10 portables to get through this construction period. As soon as we get them out and moved in, construction begins at the Barton Chapel site, where we're going to be building a new 800-student elementary school. The plan is for the students who've now been living together for a couple years at the Glen Hills Elementary site, they will move together into the new school at the Barton Chapel site, which will put that school up closer to about 700 students in an 800-student building. We have some maps around on the walls if you want to be able to look at them more closely to see if you can find your street, to see if it applies to you. But this one's pretty straightforward. Unless you're at Belfair Lakes, It's you. That's you at Barton Chapel going over to Glen Hills Elementary. So when the new school opens at the Barton Chapel site, because I don't know what its name will be yet, right? It is that entire zone. So that entire blue area that you see with our friends around the corner at Belfair Lakes continuing to go Bel Air and West Side. All right. This is a rendering of the building we have already been working on. This is a concept, so please know some of the colors may change a little bit. But our SPLOS, our voters here in the county, they voted for us to be able to build this new school on the site. It's a $47.5 million investment that's already been collected. This is not an additional cost for our citizens. And the new elementary school at the Barton Chapel site, we project that will open in the 28-29 school year, assuming we don't have any bad weather, which we're going to speak into existence. This next one is an example of a floor plan of the building. This is the school that we want to build over at the Barton Chapel site. I can tell you that this is what we call a site adaptation. What does that mean? We first designed, built what we thought was the perfect elementary school, and it's built at Wheeless Road. So you can go by Wheeless Road Elementary, you can see it. And we were in it, and we're like, oh, we wish we could change a few things. You ever had that happen when you buy a house? You're like, oh, man, could have moved this over here. So we used that same floor plan, made some tweaks, and built Richmond Hill Elementary. And so we know we are really close. We have a few tweaks we want to make, but now we're going to use that same design to build building number 3 right here at this site. So if you're curious, on a day that you schedule with the principal, you could go by and see the Richmond Hill Elementary School building if you want to see what it'll look like. We are going to change the orientation. Currently, the footprint of Barton Chapel runs parallel to Barton Chapel Road. In order to make the site really work better for us, it's tilted. So you'll see the orientation actually changes a little bit. That big area you see in the middle of the 2 hallways, that is where the playground is for our students. So it's going to be just a beautiful site. We look forward to bringing you updates over the next couple of years as we continue to construction. So we want to talk about the students during this transition. So the students Barton Chapel would transition to Glen Hills Elementary. The additional staff resources would follow our students. They would have the MTSS, social worker, like what resources is it that you need? That principal there at Glen Hills Elementary will help drive that decision. And I've already shared with you the 10 additional portables that would be needed at that site. For staff, I always say we always need great teachers. So there is a place for everyone. Please come out. Know that all of our faculty and staff will have a job. We try to get our students to stay with the students as much as possible. So as many of the Barton Chapel staff who want to go over to Glen Hills Elementary, we want you to go too. We'll be working with all of those teachers individually. They'll work with HR to help make sure they know where they're going to be. The faculty would, like I said, predominantly follow the students in their temporary move over to Glen Hills until they move back into their new school. After construction is complete, the consolidated Glen Hills Elementary staff and students would move from Glen Hills Elementary into the new facility, and Glen Hills Elementary would officially close at that point. There has been no discussion or decision on what would happen to that property. That is something we still have time to make. For now, it is fully needed to house the consolidated students there at Glen Hills Elementary for 2 years. All right, during construction, the demolition starts this summer, right after the end of the semester. So construction will go through June of 2028. There will be a naming committee that is formed to help pick the name, the mascot, the color of the new elementary school with a target move-in date of summer of 2028. And then our target occupancy would be that they would be there for the 28-29 school year, assuming no bad weather. I always try to say that for our construction friends. All right, what is the naming committee? There's been some discussion about that. Whenever we have a new school, we follow our board policy and procedures, which is to bring together a naming committee to select the name. One of my favorite parts in these meetings is that we usually begin with a historian who tells us all kinds of interesting facts about the neighborhood and the surrounding areas. The committee is made up of some board members, if that's their district, some district office staff, school staff, parents, community members, our local historian who's always available, and any alumni with close ties to either school who would like to be a part of the process. We have a minimum of 2 meetings, and then at the conclusion, we make a recommendation to our Board of Education. So far, we've been doing such a great job. Every recommendation the committee has made, our board has approved. All right, I'm going to switch over and talk for just a second about Langford Tut. We were talking about the consolidation of Glen Hills and Barton Chapel. We did this same thing a couple of years ago with the Langford Tut area, and they've been housed over in the Tut building while construction is happening on the Langford site. In that time, a naming committee has met. They have now named the school Langford Tut, alphabetical order. And this fall, at the end of this school year, we'll officially close Tut as a middle school and open a school called Langford Tut. Now, construction ran behind after the hurricane. So they're going to have to continue to go to school at the Tut site until the new building is completely ready. But they'll go ahead and become Langford Tut for the next school year. So that is going to happen, and if you haven't had a chance to drive by that construction project, it's happening every day. Swing by and take a look at that good work, but it's just going to be a gorgeous site. I am very excited about that. Cannot wait to have an opening. I don't know if you're familiar with the Golden Blocks series. It's a comic book series, and there's some beautiful murals along the Laney Walker Boulevard. But book number 2 is actually about John M. Tut, and we've offered to help kind of launch the new comic book at the new site in honor of John M. Tut. So come out and check that out too. All right, now let's talk about Jenkins White, because now I'm going to move into the feeder pattern to look at Jenkins White, Murphy, and Josie. So Jenkins White enrollment has continued to decline. This is one of the reasons that has led us toward the need to close Jenkins White. The students would go to 3 schools. They're going to go into, we have a group that will go into Hines, we'll have a group that will go into Wilkinson Gardens, and we have a group that will move to Hornsby Elementary. There are also a couple of other neighborhood moves that I do want to take time to highlight today. So there are some of our NPUs that will actually move out of Hornsby and go to Lamar Millage because they're a little closer to Lamar Millage. And we have a few neighborhoods that will move out of Wilkinson Gardens and go over to Bayville. So it's kind of like you had to move some to make room for everybody. And that puts all of those elementary schools in a great place for capacity. So you'll see the charts here, and it shows you where the students are going. And then I just had to kind of spill it over so that we do make sure we get all of these feeder patterns, all of those MPUs covered. Again, these maps are up around the wall. This is available online, and I'm going to give you a QR code in a few minutes. That's the easiest way to find out. It lets you type in your address, and then it will say, what is your new school? That way, if you can't find it on the map, you can look on our student finder. So our families will receive a letter in March notifying them of their zone change if this is approved. And that's all families. Whether you choose to go to Jenkins White or you've chosen to go to another elementary school or a magnet school, you will get this letter letting you know there's a zone change. The students will be invited to attend an orientation or an open house at their new school. And that open house is where they get to just say, like, okay, let me go over to Wilkinson Gardens. I want to meet the principal. I want to meet the new teachers. You get to be in your new space. We do that this spring so that families have opportunity to be comfortable. And then Jenkins White would close at the end of this school year. The students would begin attending their new zone school in August of 2026. So this is this school year transition. It's a very similar slide, so I'm going to kind of pick up my pace. We have a position for everyone. If you would like to work in the Richmond County School System, our Human Resources Department will be available if you'd like to talk with them after. But all of our students, we try to get them to move with Wilkinson Gardens students or the Lamar Millage students or the Hornsby students, Hines, wherever it is that they are going, we try to get as many of those staff to go with the students as well. The faculty would predominantly follow those students to their school. I want to just kind of use an example. When we closed Langford, there were 2 assistant principals. One assistant principal went with the group to Bel Air Middle with half the kids. The other went to Tut with the other half the kids. That way, when the kids walked in, there was a familiar face. We try to do that with counselors, assistant principals, teachers. So here is a picture of what that would look like when we talk now about Murphy. So Murphy would be closing at the end of this school year. And the easiest way to look at it is by thinking about which elementary you're zoned for. So if you were zoned for Bayville Elementary, your new middle school is going to be Langford Tut. If you're zoned for Wilkinson Garden, let me back up. If you're zoned for Wheeless Road, your new zone would be Richmond Hill Middle School. And then if you were zoned for Wilkinson Gardens, it would be switching over to Hornsby Middle School. So if you think of it in which elementary you're zoned for, it helps you think about which middle school that you are going to. I highlighted in green because I do want to make sure that I catch this. MPU 33, which is where Terrace Manor School sits, so if you're familiar with that neighborhood would be permanently rezoned to Richmond Hill Middle and Butler High School. And that was a request that came from our transportation department so that they're not going into a neighborhood twice to take students in different directions. So I do want to make sure that we highlight that change. So what happens? Families would receive their letters in March, and they would be invited to attend an orientation or open house at their new middle school, and Murphy will officially close at the end of this school year. Students would begin attending their new middle school in the fall. Our staff, we need everyone. They would follow our students to Hornsby Middle, Langford Tut, or Richmond Hill Middle. And again, we try to keep our students together and the staff together as much as they want. This is that dashboard locator I was telling you about. It's on our website. You can use your phones if you want to take a look at that now, but it allows you to type in your address, and it's if this plan is approved, what would be your new school? And that's where we try to send everyone because that's the easiest way to look it up. All right, I want to talk a little bit about TW Josie at this time, and I want you to notice that date change at the top because now I'm talking about the school year 29-30. So we've got some transitions to be able to get there. And what we are proposing is in the 2029-2030 school year, that is when Josie Comprehensive High School as it is today would close, and the new school on the site where Josie is would open. So at that point, there would no longer be an attendance zone to go to TW Josie. So the students would follow those same middle schools. So I'm going to walk it back through. If you live in the Bayville area, your middle school was Langford Tut, your high school is ARC. If you live in the Wheeless Road area, your middle school is Richmond Hill Middle School, and your high school is Butler. If you live in the Wilkinson Gardens area, it's Hornsby Middle School and Laney. That would be your zone school where your address is zoned to attend. But that's not going to happen right away. So let's talk about how do we get to 2029, because that's the real question. Like, how do we get there? So all of our 9th through 12th grade students will attend TW Josie at the Murphy site for 3 years. For 26-27, 27-28, and 28-29. That's what we call going to school in a swing space, all right? So they're going to use the Murphy building to be Josie. They will have all of their sports. They will have all their extracurricular activities. Everything continues as is while their students are housed in that swing space during construction. The students will continue to graduate from TW Josie Comprehensive High School until the end of that 28-29 school year. Those students would receive a letter in the spring of 2029 letting them know what their new zone is, and they would be invited to attend an orientation at their new high school. They would begin attending their new zone school in August of 2029. For faculty and staff, what does that mean? So we always need all of our teachers. The staff will remain with the TW Josie students at the Murphy building for 3 years. That was 26-27, 27-28, 28-29. At that point, staff would be offered positions somewhere within the Richmond County school system for the 29-30 school year. And any of the Josie staff who would like to interview for the new College and Career Academy at the TW Josie site, they are guaranteed an interview. We can at least do that. We can make sure you have a seat at the table if you are interested in being a part of the new school. Here, I want to say, we've been talking about this new school, but what is it? Like, what is this thing? So it's right now at the top of the page, the College and Career Academy at the TW Josie site. I want you to see these next words. This is a concept drawing. This is a concept drawing that we asked our architect to put together so that I could show you something. This is probably not what the final layout will look like. And we'll be having many conversations with our community along the way. But what we did is there's a $43 million investment for this property to invest in workforce readiness. And that's a part of why we want to go with the College and Career Academy, which is what would open in 2930. The Marion Barnes Career Center would remain the same. That it would be incorporated into this facility. We know that the Josie Arch will be preserved. I can show you symbolically kind of where we have it on the chart, but it's just there so that you know we're thinking about that and where that would need to be. And there were some questions about the newly built competition gym. That is going to remain. All of the athletic facilities will be remaining. You may not know, but we're in the process of putting the turf field down. So all of the athletic facilities will remain there, even as a part of the College and Career Academy. And so what I want to show you on the next slide is what pathways we're taking a look at, what clusters. So we know that we want to make sure that there are courses offered for our students in the academic careers, making sure that they have AP classes, opportunities for dual enrollment. This can only work with a strong partnership with our higher education universities. We have an agriculture pathway that's going to focus on urban ag. And so that's a lot of hydroponics and a partnership with the Patch, Augusta Tech, and the Tiger Woods Learning Lab to allow students opportunities to work on urban ag nearby. Our construction pathway exists right now at TW Josie or in the Marion Barnes Career Center, but what they don't have is a great pad to build a small house or a Habitat for Humanity home, which is common in a lot of construction projects. The theme you will see is that we want there to be real-world application and a strong business partner with every single pathway. We know we need to do some work with IT, digital technology, cybersecurity, making sure that our students are ready for the workforce that is growing every day around them in the world of IT. We also want to have early childhood education. So on our site, we want to be able to have and operate a daycare where the students are able to work with our students, if that would be only pre-K or maybe even a little bit younger. So I used to work at Josie. Cheryl Kofer was one of my colleagues, and she had a class like this back then, where the students actually had small children there on campus that they could help mentor. So it's that kind of concept. We are taking a look at the energy pathway. We can't ignore the fact that we have many energy companies around us in Burke County and Aiken County, for example. You've got two major energy businesses, and we also need more pathways in the health and human services, the healthcare pathways. Yes, we have some at A.R. Johnson, but I promise you we need more. And so these will be additional healthcare pathways that would be connected to the medical colleges, which is just right down the road, like giving them access to that. But we don't want to let go of the cosmetology. That wing is there now. Nail tech, cosmetology, barbering, that will remain. The hospitality, events, and tourism. That's the name of the cluster. What we're looking at is the culinary arts program. So on this picture here, you'll notice the little green box there closest to the 15th Street. That's where we've just symbolically placed our culinary arts program. And the reason we did that is because that second green box, that's actually the restaurant. So they learn front of the house, back of the house. And we have a goal that maybe each Friday, right, our restaurant is open. I hope all of you will come out and support our students and eat lunch there, but it gives the students an opportunity to also run a business. And then the last one is the heavy machinery. And so what these are, they're big, giant simulators. And you get into the simulators and you practice and you run the machine and you earn your hours and you can earn your credential in the simulator so you can go straight to work for a forklift or operate a backhoe. And I want to tell you, as I did this myself, it is hard. I wrecked the backhoe immediately, which causes you to have to back up in your hours. So these simulators are very amazing, the technology that's out there today. One of the kind of keystones that we want to have here at the new school is really maximizing the accelerated career diploma. Yes, a student will be able to still get the 23 credit traditional diploma, But we want to capitalize on what many people around us have been doing for years, and we want to make sure that we offer this. And that's for our 10th through 12th grade students to earn a high school diploma while simultaneously completing a technical college credential. So what that looks like is when they go to high school here, they have to have 9 high school credits, which is 2 ELA, 2 math, 2 science, 2 social studies, and 1 health and PE. In any of those courses that have an EOC, you have to take the EOC. Those are your only high school courses. All of the rest of your time that you are there, you are working with our post-secondary institution to get one of these 3, either the Associate of Applied Science degree, your associate's degree, or a technical college diploma, or the 2 technical certificates of credit, which we call TCCs. So you get one of those 3 paired with your 9 high school credits, and you graduate with more than just a diploma, your diploma and your workforce readiness, while also still making available the traditional pathway for our students who just want to really major in 1 or 2 of these areas. So what makes it distinctive? It is very community inclusive. Like we talked about the Early Learning Center. We talked about that working restaurant. This depends on interaction with the neighbors, with our community at large. It will have athletics and clubs. Like I said, the infrastructure for major sports, it will still exist. It will really be driven by the students' interest. That's kind of how we drive some of our sports today. If we have 50 kids interested in swimming, we'll have swimming. If we have many students who want to play football, we have football. All this, the infrastructure is already there. All right, so the Carl Vincent Institute came in the 23-24 school year. That was like this fancy group that we brought in to study Richmond County. They studied all of the different jobs that we have to offer here in Richmond County, and they looked at the jobs that are coming, and they looked at one more thing. They looked at the pay that these jobs have. So our goal was to tell us what are the high demand career pathways that pay enough money that our students won't have to work 2 jobs. That was our goal. And that's how the team kind of came together to originally choose some of the pathways you see. Transportation for the College and Career Academy will be provided, and we'll be using it through our shuttle system the same way we have been doing for many years. I gave you some examples. Our magnet schools ride to your high school, you go to your place, and you go home to your middle school, and you ride home. We do that exact same shuttle for the International Baccalaureate program at ARC and the Advanced Placement Academy at Laney High School. That was very important to our group because we wanted to make sure that every single student, no matter where you lived, you had access to attend here if that is what you wanted to do. So the next one is like, who is going to attend there? Somebody asked, I think the question in the chat was like, who is this really for? Who are you building this for? It is for our students right here in Richmond County. And it is proposed to open in the fall of 2029. It will open up 9 through 12. So we're going to open up with all 4 grades. It is a choice program, but it's not one where you have to take a test. You just say, I want to go there. This is where I would like to go. We are going to hold you accountable, though, because I think this is going to become so popular, we might even have a wait list. And if we do that, our proposed plan is to have a lottery. But we want to say, you need to come to school. Your attendance has to be good, and you have to be behaved. Because there might be somebody that wants to come in your place. That doesn't mean that you don't get you know that you can't make a mistake, just like we do in our magnet schools. We know that. We know that we have to work with our families. The programming will incorporate all of our different programs that we have scattered across the county. Currently, we have a performance learning center that's at the Tubman building. We have a Learn at Home program. We have about 100 students every day who learn remotely. That staff would come over. We have the Marion Barnes Career Center. Some of the students, they hop on a bus, they go over, then they go back to their school. And we have a cyber academy at RCTCM. That's 431 students in all of those programs combined. Some of those are Josie students currently. But those students would be brought into this programming, into the design here at the College and Career Academy. Any current Josie student who would like to attend, we want them to participate. And it's one of the reasons that our board felt that, let's change our plan. Let's keep them in that swing space, keep that core group of Josie students together before we reopen. And then, of course, any other comprehensive high school student in our county, we're going to have a night class from 4 to 6 p.m. where they have an opportunity to come over to the College and Career Academy and participate in the different CTAE pathways that might not be offered at their school if they wish. That probably will not be a year one thing. We have to grow into that. All right, so another one is like, who selected these proposed clusters? I want you to see proposed. So using the information from the Carl Vincent Institute, that's how we chose our high demand career clusters. And we considered the cost of the labs, the availability of instructors. Here's an example. When we first started trying to do Cyber Academy, we opened up 4 or 5 of them. It's hard to find that many cyber instructors, so we needed to consolidate some resources. And we also wanted to make sure we had access to higher future earnings when we considered. There was a focus group that met 7 times in the fall of 2025 to really hone in on some of the design and planning. The focus group was made up of high school principals, high school assistant principals, high school counselors, high school CTAE instructors, central office from both CTAE and teaching and learning, some senior leadership, and our architectural and design team. We met, we also went out and we looked at other college and career academies. We visited the Ron Clark Academy. We took a look at the Junior Achievement Center because everything was on the table as we began to build. But I do want to make sure you know that no final decision has been made on which career cluster will be offered there. It is a proposal as a concept design so that you could see what we are beginning to envision. So what happens next? The construction would begin this summer once we've moved everyone out of the current Josie building, and that would continue through the summer of 2029. A naming committee would be formed to select the name, the mascot, the color, with a target move-in. We want to try to get our staff, everybody moved in the summer of 2029 so that we can welcome our first group of students in the 29-30 school year. Here's the same sheet for a naming committee. We'll follow the exact same process. Again, many of you know some folks who participated in the Langford Tut Naming Committee, which is our most recent one. You can kind of talk to them about those experiences. Our goal is to have this done as quickly as possible because that helps us make decisions as we're designing. We want to incorporate the school colors and the mascot and the naming as a part of the design plan as we build. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to teacher mode, but I'm going to do a couple scenarios because I think it's important for you to see, like, what is the impact for the actual student. So let's talk about a Murphy student experience real quickly. In scenario number 1, you are a 6th grade student living in the Wheeless Road attendance zone, and you go to Murphy today. So this year for 6th grade, you're at Murphy Middle School. Next year for 7th grade, you will be at Richmond Hill Middle School. For 8th grade, you will be at Richmond Hill Middle School. For your 9th grade year, you're going to go to T.W. Josie at the Murphy site. And then your 10th grade year, your zone is Butler High School, or you can apply to be a part of the College and Career Academy at the T.W. Josie site. That's what it looks like for the student. In our original plan, we're trying to make that smooth for the people being rezoned so that it may not have to move. But we realize, like, we don't want to also take away that Josie core. So our hope is that they will see this great building being built and they want to become a part of it. But if they don't, then their zone school would be Butler. Here's something else that we know might happen. So this student goes to Richmond Hill Middle School next year and makes lots of friends. And, oh, this is my new friend group. And we're together in 8th grade. And this is my friend group. And now we're a split feeder. Some of us are going back to Josie and some of us are going to Butler. And so a student might say, Mama, right, I want to get a zone exemption. I want to go on over to Butler my 9th grade year since that's where I'm going to be zoned my 10th grade. That might happen. And if that family has that transportation, they apply for our House Bill 251, that's possible. But transportation will be provided for you to go to your zoned Josie High School. All right, we're going to look this next one is the same scenario, but this student lives at Bayville. So they're at Murphy this year, 7th grade at Langford Tut, 8th grade at Langford Tut, 9th grade at T.W. Josie at the Murphy site, and then 10th grade ARC or the College and Career Academy at the T.W. Josie site. Scenario 3, 6th grade student, but you live in the Wilkinson Gardens area. So you're going to go to Murphy this year, 7th grade at Hornsby Middle, 8th grade at Hornsby Middle, 9th grade at T.W. Josie at the Murphy site, 10th grade at either Laney High School or the College and Career Academy at T.W. Josie. And I think you see the pattern. But I think it was important for us to just take a moment to show that. I'm going to talk about, and this is a new slide, I want to talk about athletics for just a minute because athletics is also a big part of the high school experience. So what you have on the screen in front of you, for those of you who don't live in the athletics world all the time, we get reclassified every 2 years. So these are the classifications for the next 2 years. And I have in blue all of the Richmond County schools. So we have Region 4, Classification 2A, Region 4, Classification 3A, Region 1, Classification 5A. And you'll see where our schools are in there. Also, just for your kind of effort, is to highlight some of the schools that are outside of the CSRA. Why am I doing that? Because one of the things that you also want to be mindful of is you want to have schools a similar size as your neighbors so that you can play each other, so that you're not hopping on a bus and driving 100, 200 miles for all of your games. It hurts the fan base, and it makes it challenging for our students to have that additional. So I wanted you to just sort of see, this is what we have for the upcoming year. And you'll see an asterisk beside Davidson, Johnson, and RCTCM because they don't play football. And so that's the reason that that region has 11 teams, because they don't play football. But this right here was also a decision that our board carefully considered when we decided to leave the group whole at Josie for the next 3 years. There could be a direct impact on both Josie and Laney and the entire region with our other plan. I want to talk to you what I mean by that. So this region schedule has already been set. If we close Josie at the end of this school year, that's already one of our 2A schools out of the region. If we took all of our students and we rezoned them to Laney, ARC, and Butler next year, the number of students at Laney would actually move them to a 3A competition, which is good, but it's not what they are prepared for. And the region has already been set, which would mean that our friends at Laney would not be eligible for the playoffs for a 2-year cycle because they are out of their size. It also means we don't have football games scheduled for those 3A schools. So not only does it disrupt some of the things we have here in Richmond County, it disrupts the entire region. But I also want to tell you, it probably will impact the classification in 2930. Depending on how many students go to the College and Career Academy, they could even be as small as 1A. Let's hope not. Let's just go ahead and say at least 2A. And then our students and our friends over at Laney will probably become a 3A school for that next classification cycle. The truth is you don't want to be on either end of the spectrum, because if you look over at Richmond Academy, their only CSRA school they play is Evans. And a part of that comes from the multiplier effect by how many school choice students and IB students who live outside their district, which is what caused them to be a lot bigger. That's important because I want you to know that what we're proposing for the College and Career Academy is a district-wide attendance zone. So any student who lives in Richmond County would be eligible to go there without having that additional multiplier for their athletic programs. If this does not make sense to you, I'll be happy to stay behind, but I know we have a lot of fans in the area. So when we talk about GHSA guidelines, this is how it works. Wherever you go to school as a 9th grader, really, no matter where your address is, that becomes where you are eligible to play. And you can stay at that school for the rest of your high school career. Students who are in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade who are transferred from one school attendance zone to another by mandate of the local Board of Education will maintain their eligibility at their new school. It's not your fault that we closed your school and rezoned you. So those students who would be rezoned would still be eligible. When a student does not meet the standards of eligibility per GHSA transfer rules, a hardship application may be filed by an administrator of that member school. So I want to take you through just a couple as we close out. Let's look into next year. So next year, you are a rising 9th grade student, and you are living in the Wheelus Road, and you go to TW Josie at the Murphy site. You are going to be eligible to play sports for TW Josie your 9th grade year, your 10th grade year, your 11th grade year. Let's talk about 12th grade. Your 12th grade year, you're eligible in 2 places. You're eligible to go to play at Butler, because that's your new attendance zone, or the new school, because it's a brand new school that didn't exist before. So those students who've been playing basketball or whatever sport you pick, right, at TW Josie would still be eligible to play those sports at the school. All right, same kind of thing I want to take a look at, Bayville attendance zone. So again, as a ninth grader, they'll be over at TW Josie at the Murphy site, eligible to play sports. 9, 10, 11 at Josie. Their 12th grade year, they are eligible at two places, ARC or the new school. If you live in the Wilkinson Gardens area, you will go to school at the Murphy site, play sports. 9, 10, 11, your senior year, you're eligible in two places, Laney or the new school. But this is the one I really want to focus on because I want to make sure that we have correct information out there. You are a ninth grade student. You do not live in the attendance zone for TW Josie. For the sake of argument, I'm going to say you live at Cross Creek and you're here on a House Bill 251 school choice. You are not zoned for Murphy. You have chosen to come to this school. You are ninth grade year. You are eligible to play sports at TW Josie. 10th grade, 11th grade, your senior year, you can play sports at the new school, but you would be ineligible at Cross Creek High School. So anybody that does come in on a school choice, they just need to understand that if they want to be eligible that senior year, they need to think the process through. And we are happy to meet with any families. That student going to Cross Creek is always welcome to apply for a hardship waiver, and we'll see what GHSA says. But we want to make sure we're really clear about that piece. We talked a lot about Josie, so if you were like, I don't know which one I'm in, same thing. You can click this zone finder indicator, and it'll tell you which school you are proposed to attend should this move forward. So we have now had we're in our third public hearing today. Our board has continued to receive information and will do so through February 22nd. They will take a vote on February 23rd. If this vote passes, we'll be out in those schools meeting with the staff the next day to help answer questions that they may have. And then you will see high school task force, but I'm putting a pause on this. So what we would like to do is let's get the College and Career Academy open. Let's see which students choose to attend. Let's get that model up and working, and then we can take a look at how many seats we have at the high schools. Where do we have opportunities for consolidation in the future at other high schools in our county? That is not a decision today, and it really would be premature for us to begin talking about that. So we're not going to do this for the next couple of years. At this point, I do want to take a point of privilege to thank these board members here behind me. They have received a lot of calls, and sometimes they've been called names, and they've listened to many members of our community. This is hard work. They put in a lot of effort, and I want to thank you for coming out today. I want to thank them for the work that they have put into this plan as well, and their commitment to listening to the community. So we're getting ready. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Myers. He'll quickly review the public comment guidelines, and we'll move into that period. Thank you.
Let's give Dr. Cobb a hand for that wonderful presentation. Thank you for outlining. Thank you for outlining such a bold vision for our students. I also like to, as she did, extend a sincere thank you to all the board members for making sure they are here to listen. Today is a listening session. And you all in the community are heartbeat of our community. We're now moving to that part of our program, the community listening session. This is your time to make comments. Once again, here are the public comment guidelines. Comment cards are required. We ask that you to speak. You must complete and submit a comment card. If you need a comment card, Ms. Walden is out. We can make sure that you have one of those for anybody who would like to make a comment. Each individual may speak once during the meeting. Time limit. Speakers, as the board has suggested, somewhat different from what we had in place. The speakers are limited to try to be 3 minutes, but we wanted to make sure everybody has the opportunity to speak that would like to speak. So make sure you have a chance to let all your neighbors have a chance to speak. No shouting, no personal attacks, or disruptive behavior. Please remain courteous to all participants. With that being said, we will use this microphone over here to my left for anyone that would like to make public comments. I will come around, and we will get the cards up, and we will begin that in a few moments. couple other things real quick. Make sure make sure you use the microphone. That will help us make sure we have a court reporter here so she can make sure she can hear everything that's going on. Questions can be answered using our website. There are some questions that have already been asked. Take a moment, look at our website. There are tons of frequently asked questions. We have done our best to make sure that as questions come in, we answer them and put them up immediately. Communications department, they have worked really, really hard to make sure we do that constantly. We have a system that we use to get those questions and to get those uploaded. So make sure you take a moment to look at those. A lot of those questions are there. Remember, focus on the plan. Comments should address the presented plan. Today, our comments are about what is going on in this master planning. If you have anything outside of that, I'm asking you respectfully to just wait till after this meeting is over, meet with somebody on staff. This is not the time to come in and gripe about all the other things that's going on. We're talking about the master plan today. It's very, very important. So if that is outside of your wheelhouse, wait and let us try to make sure we can get some stuff taken care of after the fact. You good? Oh. Not yet, sir. I'm not finished.
Oh, okay.
Please step back by where Ms. Haley is. That'll help us. I'm trying to finish through this part right here. Thank you. My role here is going to be try to keep everything under control, keep everybody focused on what we are talking about today. Once again, it's about the master plan. That's very, very important that we focus on what the master plan is here. All right? Thank you so much.
Mike Hollis, 30907. It's good that they're building all these new schools. Kids need that. They need to know their school is new and have all the facilities. But my concern is what's going inside the school. I was in special needs for 30 years, and I came here to Richmond County. I've been subbing for the last 5 years, and we need a lot of help in that special ed department. If you have kids in that special ed department, please be aware of what's going on in there. When I came here, I had never seen such a place in such disarray. And parents who aren't involved, your kids could be taken advantage of. I was subbing in a class that had 18 black kids, 16 black boys, and none of them had any paperwork. These are the kids that's going to be in your neighborhood knocking you in your head because they haven't received their services, or knocking your grandmother in the head. So be concerned about what's going inside the building. The new school and the plan, great. I support that. Richmond County need that. But be concerned if you have a special need kid, if they get their services. Because what I've seen is, this is, when it comes to special needs kids inside the new building, this is the quite essential schoolyard to the prison pipeline when it comes to special needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I will. Thank you so much.
No, y'all ain't want to hear that.
We're not answering any questions. We'll do the questions after. So thank you so much for your concern. We will make sure that we try to make sure we keep up with the public comments as it relates to the master plan and what we're talking about today. Thank you so much for your comments. Who you have next, Ms. Haley?
If you'd like to make a line, if you'd like to make a comment, you can collect your card up here. Thank you. Can I take your card? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gary and Henry, and this is my first meeting. I see the clock just started, so I'm going to make it worth the time. There are different forms of leadership, and if we don't identify with the forms of leadership that we foster, everything will fall out of place. I identify with organizational leadership because I'm an alumni of Augusta State University, and I'm a grad student. Well, I got my graduation. I got my grad degree May of 2025, and I had got into some trouble back when, and if it was not for people being supportive and standing there for me, I would have never got my degree. They didn't give up on me because of the mistake that I made. So with this situation here, I don't think it was thought out very thoroughly, because you said yourself that we're talking about what's going on in this proposal, but this proposal is what affects the community. I live in the community, and whatever happens with the schools being shut down, it goes to the lack of bus drivers that we have. It goes to the lack of illiteracy that our children are not getting in the school system because they are being turned out of school and half of them cannot read. We're investing $47.5 million and millions of dollars in these proposals, but we're not allocating those funds that should go into the education system. And if we do develop this career center, what good is this career center when we have children that can't hardly read? There are children that are just excited with finishing high school. They don't care about other stuff because we have not put that enthusiasm into them. I am a mother of a special needs son, and the only reason why I came up here is because I'm standing up for him. Mismanagement of funds and all of this is okay. This plan sounded good, but it was not strategically thought out. It was not elevated. My son goes to Jenkins White, and even though they said that Jenkins White was decreased in capacity, nobody went to find out why it was a decrease in capacity. Nobody follows up with the parents. Nobody do that. Jenkins White has a doggone good principal there, and I like that. I like her because she's advocate for the kids and all. We have to think about the community first when we do and make these decisions. I don't know if this was a meeting for everyone or if this was just a quota so that you all could say, hey, we did our due diligence. We met with the community 3 times, 4 times, however it was. But at the end of the day, you all were students. You all were kids. You all were once in their position. How would you all feel? It's just like taking somebody out of their home and saying, we got somebody that would pay more rent than you. So I'm going to yield to you all, and I hope you all think this really through. You need to have more people that's following behind you all and having some type of accountability and transparency.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir. Name and zip code, please.
Yeah, I'm Colonel Barry, otherwise known as Dr. Barry, whatever you want to call me, or the kids call me Dr. Colonel Barry, but I'm coming from Josie. I do feel I empathize with all you. You have to make a hard decision about facilities and make some really tough choices. But I'd like to remind you of some agreements you already made with the federal government. One of them was with the Air Force and Air Force JRTC. There's a signed agreement that we're to have a program at a high school. And I did not see my program mentioned, but I just have the question about it. Okay, and I understand that we're going to transition to Murphy and we're going to keep the programs going, but my question is, how can I keep my program going unless your intention is to close it? Because one thing, all programs, all high school programs, whether they be extracurriculars or, in my case, TRTC, we need a constant influx of students. And Title 10, Section 2031, which is what the regulations state, that's the U.S. code, states that we will have to have minimum enrollment. So we need a minimum enrollment. So right now our minimum enrollment is 57. I will lose my 7 seniors, but if you kind of project that with no incoming freshmen, my enrollment will go below the required number. And in this case, I'll be put on probation, and then, the Air Force will have to close it. Title 10, Section 231 also says that the county will provide a minimum of 2 instructors. I believe I refuted that already, and there we go. The school will provide adequate drill areas in immediate near vicinity comprising of 2,500 square feet. The school will provide a minimum of 400 square feet for the protection and care of uniforms, supplies, and equipment for the JRTC program. Our current facilities, I helped design way back in 2017 when Dr. Bradshaw, the previous superintendent at the time, or vice superintendent, had me go with the architect and help design the location. So our current area that we are right now meets all the specifications, and on our inspection, we passed that inspection. So that's not a issue with the Air Force. We meet the minimum statutory enrollment requirement, which changed this past year because other programs like welding, carpentry, all the other, they compete with JRTC, and the Department of War now recognizes that. So they said, go from 100 to 50. So we meet that enrollment requirement, of which the federal money comes in. So I just want to, again, ask for JRTC, and I'm sure there's other programs at my school that, hey, wait a minute, if we're to keep this program going, we need to get that constant influx. But if you're going to phase this out, how's that going to work? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello again. My name is Sheffy Robinson. I'm a clinical sociologist, college professor, and technologist in workforce and economic development. I'm also the president of the illustrious Thomas Walter Josie Comprehensive High School Alumni Foundation. As we discuss shifting Josie into a college and career academy, the most important question we should be asking is, are we setting this school up for success? Josie is not just another building. It represents significant Augusta history. It represents generations of families, alumni, and community identity. It is a legacy institution. When public servants that we elect are detached from that history and are hyper-focused on the data, even unintentionally, the level of care can lessen. How many people are on the naming committee? How many are voting members? These questions deserve answers and clarity. If we're going to transition into a college and career academy, then the planning must be forward-thinking, precise, and grounded in real industry alignment. What is the actual criteria for selecting the pathways? If we are relying on Carl Vinson Institute data from 2023, that data will be outdated by 2029. Industry moves quickly. Artificial intelligence is already reshaping cybersecurity, logistics, healthcare, manufacturing, and finance. Augusta has a data center by QTS that the Economic Development Authority pushed to have built in this area. Yet there appears to be no formal workforce pipeline connection between RCBOE and the EDA or the new partners. If industry is being recruited strategically in this area, our high school pathways should align just as strategically. Even classifications matter. Landscaping was discussed under urban agriculture, but landscaping is construction. It is not urban agriculture. This may seem minor, but is a larger concern of, are we rigorously aligning pathways to actual workforce sectors, or are we loosely grouping programs without deep validation? Then we have a facilities issue. There's discussion in the community about a new high school being built near Eisenhower. Glen Hills is already there. Close RCTCM and you have a building. Continuity is also critical. Why would freshmen have to reapply for their sophomore year when the new school is built? They should be grandfathered in. This goes the same for faculty and staff. They should be grandfathered in. If you're claiming to keep the school open to continue continuity, why would you disrupt continuity on the day the school opens? That doesn't make sense. We all want Josie to succeed, but if we do not have strong partnerships in place, accurate workforce alignment, fiscal clarity, and a continuity plan, then the responsible course of action is simple. Leave the school alone. Do not dismantle a legacy institution until there is a clearer, stronger, fully developed plan to ensure its success, else you build another RCTCM, a 6 through 12 school disconnected from its intended purpose with only 431 students. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is anyone else, before we close this part of the session out?
Hi, my name is Courtney Green. I am alumni of T.W. Josie class of 2005. I live in Augusta, Georgia, 30906. There's a few things that I would like to bring to the board members' attention. Years ago, T.W. Josie used to have a music class, and I was also a member of the chorus. We had a DCT program. That stands for Diversified Corp of Job Training. That is a program that they tore down that used to be in the old vocational building. It was also a club for the VICA. And that club represented that students, if you were in the 12th grade, you could get out of school early before 7th period if you had a job to go to. The next thing that I want to discuss is Josie never had a psychology class or architect or engineer. The sports that we never had is the soccer team. I want to bring this to the board attention. Teachers should go out to visit with children in their homes to meet and greet parents along with family members, just to see how the children are doing before the next school year start. And then when school session begin during normal business hours, they both write a letter for communication to each other. This will help improve interactions of students. Thank you, and you have a good day.
Thank you so much.
My name is Joyce Robinson. I am a 67 alumni of T.W. Josie High School, retired educator, and I live in Hepzibah, 30815. And my question is, I have two questions really, is why are students having to be rezoned in 2028, I think that's 28, if you are transitioning them to Murphy, then why do you have to rezone them to a different high school? Second, why are you constantly referring to it as a new school when it seems to me that you're only renovating or doing some new construction on the site, and you're only changing the focus of the program? So I'm not clear on why you're constantly referring to it as a new school and requiring that you have a new name for a school that's on the same site.
Again, thank you everyone for your comments and questions. Again, the senior staff will be here to make sure that we are able to answer questions and have any additional comments. We'll be here to answer those things to be helpful. Also, take a moment again to go to our website, look up the master plan on the website. Also, look up the QR code where you can drop other questions and see the questions that have already been asked. But we'll turn this back to the president of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. And thank you to Mr. Hollis, Ms. Henry, Colonel Berry, Ms. Sheffy Robinson, Ms. Green, and Ms. Phyllis Robinson. As always, with every meeting that we have, I sit here and take notes on everything that you said so that we can address it as a board. I want to start with Ms. Phyllis Robinson, since she was the last one here, and she had two very distinct questions. Why are students rezoned to a different school when it is now at a Murphy site? The proposed new College and Career Academy will be an open zone school. That means that any student in Richmond County, not just those that live in that neighborhood, can apply to go to that school, even the current students that are there. It's referred to a new school, Ms. Robinson, because the programming is changed. It's changed from a comprehensive high school to a college and career academy. So the main focus on it, students will always have their core classes, but the main focus will be working with our workforce development. So I hope that has given you a clearer answer to your question. Ms. Green, we have heard, and thank you for reminding us about the DCT program. Hopefully, when I was in school, it was called OJT program. It was called On the Job Training, where we will partner with businesses in our community based on what that assessment test the guidance counselor gave us that said we were supposed to do. The difference between now and then is students now have more of an idea of what they want to do by the time they get to middle school versus when we were kids, we kind of had to take a aptitude test. A plan is to partner with businesses in the area that will help our students as they're going through this program to come out of school with a job. I don't remember seeing that slide this time, but in the last one at Barton Chapel, the students will either have an accelerated high school diploma, they will graduate with an associate's degree, or they will graduate with certification in the career path that they've chosen. In order to have the certification, they have to work with businesses to get the on-hand experiences. I refer to my colleague, Mr. Hannah here. He is what they used to call a blue collar worker, but he is with the trades. We know now that what we thought was blue collar workers now make six figures. And some of our students with the right certifications and accreditations that they can get in those trades can come out making $25 to $30 an hour. Mr. Hannah, what's the minimum starting point for some of your students?
18 to 19 coming straight out, and some in the apprenticeship, depending where they're at, 19 to 21.
Okay, and that's just starting out. So imagine some of us, there are some families that don't have that starting point. The goal of the College and Career Academy is to prepare our students to enter into the workforce, because let's face it, not every student wants to go to college. Not every student has the means to go to college. College is expensive. I can speak for my youngest child. She was not a college student, but what she is an entrepreneur. And this program is designed to not only help students come out into trades, but to be entrepreneurs. One of the proposals is that they will have a culinary arts program and a restaurant that the students will learn the front of the house and the back of the house, and they will run the restaurant themselves. So they know how to operate a business. Ms. Sheffy Robinson, I appreciate very much your detailed comments because of your background, and you're working directly with the alumni, and I'm quite sure you have heard their concerns as well. So thank you for sharing with us. You really said, one of the things you said I want to address is there's no pipeline to EDA. One of the things that we do as a board is we assign board members to sit on various boards within the city to bring back, if anyone is have ever seen a board meeting, we have points where we come back and give reports. We have someone that is a part of the EDA, and that's Ms. Boyd. And every month, she's able to come back to let us know what jobs are coming, what is changing in the area. So we try to keep our hands on the pulse of the work community. It's Ms. Dr. Mabry, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see her in here. There she is. She works with the economic development and workforce development with our students to make sure that businesses that coming in can have students work with them. So we are trying. If there's any suggestion that anyone has of how we can better tighten those relationships with our community, please let us know. We are definitely open to it, because in the end, we want our students to be successful. We want this program to work, because I would love to see our students graduate with certifications in HVAC and culinary arts, because I love to eat. So I'm definitely rooting for the culinary arts part. The faculty and staff being grandfathered in, as far as that goes, Ms. Robinson, the only thing that and that we support Dr. Cobb with is that they're guaranteed an interview. Because it is a college and career academy, we want to make sure that we have certified teachers in these programs that are skilled to teach these programs. As far as your English, your language arts, your math, your core classes, we're going to make sure that those teachers who want to be a part of that school have the opportunity to interview and be a part of that school. I do hear your concerns about that, and that was one of my concerns, but it makes sense that they are guaranteed an interview. And I have confidence that the teachers that we have there, because of the amount of time, that school has longevity with teachers. And because of the amount of time and the relationship that they have with their students, I feel very confident that they will interview well and be placed trust in that. But of course, we can't guarantee anything. Colonel Berry, yes, as a veteran of the United States Army, I'm a little jealous that you're Air Force, because we used to always say y'all was the lazy branch of the armed forces. But we appreciate what you do for our students. I ain't taking a hit at nobody. It's just an intermilitary joke. Y'all relax. One of the things we would like to address as far as the program, when your students are transferred over to the Murphy site, the program has the ability to operate under the standards that which it is currently operating. The reason why you don't have 2 instructors is because you don't have the number of students enrolled at the school that meets the minimum requirement. You have to? Okay, so you're concerned that you won't have to.
He was concerned that there will continue to be ninth graders.
Population.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wrote down the wrong thing then. You're asking about the dwindling population.
Yeah.
Got you. So the phasing out of the program, because that's what I wrote, but the phasing out of the program, you're worried about if we're not bringing any students in for those 4 years, what would happen with the program? Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Cobb, and I think we've had this before. The program will halt to be brought back again when the school opens up. So it wouldn't be a do away with to the point. Am I, correct me, Dr. Cobb, if I'm wrong?
Okay, so I will, all right?
Good.
We will continue to have rising ninth graders. So there is not a teach out plan. And go back and take a look at those slides. There will continue to be rising ninth graders all 3 years. You will have all 4 grade levels the whole time you're there. Otherwise, you would have some concern. We could chat after, okay? I'll be available.
All right, and to Ms. Henry, thank you very much for your comments. We understand your concerns about transportation. As a matter of fact, during this process, our transportation department worked directly with the staff as they were designing this plan, because they are well aware of the transportation needs. I think Dr. Cobb mentioned in her presentation that it was transportation that asked about a change over in the Terrence Manor area so that they don't have 2 buses coming in to go to 2 different locations. Every major department had a seat at the table when this was being developed. The board did not come up with this idea. I just want to make that directly clear. None of the 10 of us had a say-so in the development of this. It is brought to us as the recommendations are made, and then we present it to the community to get the feedback. I don't want anyone to think that the process, we didn't think about. All of the logistics part of it was thought about. However, I will say this, if there is something that was missed, because we're human and we can overlook things and our eyes get comfortable, we are always welcome. There's a transportation blue sign right there in the middle on my left, your right-hand side. Someone will be there at transportation for you to submit your concerns, to which they will bring it back to the senior team, to which they will go over it and then bring it back to the board. Okay. As always, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for your well thought out comments. Thank you for always giving us something to think about. Again, our next meeting on this is February 23rd. We invite you to come out that day. That is the day that we will have discussion and voting. Nothing has been approved, and between now and then, anything can change with the feedback that you gave us. We appreciate your time on the middle of this Thursday, and we hope you all have a great day.
Just remind them we'll be around.
Yes, the blue signs that are on the wall, department members will be there for you to come and share your comments. Have a great day, everyone.